Welcome to the Life and Leadership Podcast, where we discuss business, leadership, and friendship. I'm Zach Goebel.
And I'm Jared Toach. Thank you for joining us today. All right, welcome everybody to the Life and Leadership Podcast. Feels like it's been a minute since we recorded.
It's been a long several weeks here.
Yeah, you might tell them why it's been a long several weeks.
Yeah, we have been moving, and we are in a different office now in our new house. And this will be temporary for a few months, and we have a pole barn being built behind us over here. And that'd be nice. We're going to build a studio in there and, be able to make it really nice. So
it's awesome.
Very excited about that.
Very excited.
Hoping to have that by summer.
I'm super excited about it. I mean, he's doing all the work, and I just get to participate.
I'm just excited Amanda's allowing us to do it.
I know.
So welcome back. We are glad to be back. We actually spent some time yesterday evening preparing this room. It was full of boxes yesterday. And so
you never know it.
Yeah. We are now behind you. There's still some stuff stacked up over there, but we are ready to record. So what are we going to do today, Jared?
All right. So we thought for this podcast, I would like to do kind of interview style. But since our last time, you've taken over the family business.
Yes.
And your wife have taken over as full ownership.
Yes, we have. Yeah.
Yep. That's
Very
a big step for you guys.
Yep.
The business is in very capable hands.
Well, thank you.
Very personal note here. I'm very proud.
Thank you.
Of my friends and the work that they've done.
We are extremely excited to take this business and run with it, and continue to
build off of something that's been growing and growing. So it's super exciting. But anyways, that being said, I had this thought that maybe we should do like an interview with you. And then
wasn't my idea, but that's
so anyways, we're gonna do like basically an interview with Zach. I'll be asking him some questions about leadership and decision making and strategic thinking, all of those types of things, to get his response and answer, and hopefully it will help some of you out there in the audience. You can find it applicable to your work, whatever it might be, and can glean some things. I think you do a great job of leadership. So we're going to dive into some of those questions and just see where we go.
Thank you.
See what happens.
Let's do it.
All right. So right out of the gate, the first question we're going to start with is leadership style. And what is your leadership style? Well, how would you see that? And I know we don't live in just one specific realm, and we kind of go back and forth, but what would you define your leadership style as?
Well, in the last several years, my leadership style has drastically changed. The more that I've grown, and the more that I've learned about leadership, and the more that our team has grown, my styles have changed for the better.
So I would like to throw in a word: evolved.
Evolved. We can use that word. Evolved.
They evolved.
And it's been really refreshing, not only to for me, but also for the team. And I actually, we just came into a new year, and looking back at this past year, it's just really nice. It's really refreshing to look at the team that we have now, and to look at the results that we're having from such a great team. And I know that it wouldn't have been possible with my old leadership style. I guess this journey started 2 to 3 years ago, whenever I realized that as the general manager at the time, and I was running 90% of the business, 100% of the day-to-day, but that I was kind of the bottleneck, the cap, and I was, until I grew my leadership and until I grew my professionalism, the business wasn't going to grow in leadership and professionalism. And so my leadership style or lack thereof was holding the business back from growing.
What would you say that how would you define what are some traits of what that leadership style looked like before you had this transformation?
Well, in all honesty, before it was kind of a, you roll with the punches. I kind of just,
like, kind of chill, go with the flow, whatever.
Yeah. But even in a horrible sense of not being proactive in leadership, not being proactive in team building, but you just kind of, this is who you have on your team, and you work with them the best you can, and then whenever their time is through, whenever they want to move on, then you just, and you just kind of roll with the punches, not only with the team but also just in the business. And it was kind of a wake up point for me. I just was like, this is not okay,
So was there a key moment when you realized that, like, or was there a series of moments that you realized, like, this is not working, like what I'm doing is not working, how I'm leading is not working?
I don't know that I can pinpoint something. I just know that through that process, I tried to learn more, and I started listening to leadership podcasts, and I started listening to different well-known leaders, well-respected leaders, and I started hearing how bad of a leader I was. And but it came with hope. Like, it was,
there's possibility for
yes,
something.
like I know I can do better. And so I really started diving into the books, listening to the books and listening to the podcast, and even started, I've really stretched myself as well. I started attending, B&I groups and different networking avenues, because I am an outgoing person, but I can also just
Really,
I can also just hide in a corner though, and just be me, especially whenever it comes to, I really don't like sales and business networking and meetings like that. I mean, it's all about sales. It's all about putting yourself out there. This is who we are. This is who I am. But I knew that I had to stretch myself to be able for that to flow into our business, into our team. So through all of that, I would say now I really love with my leadership. I love to delegate. I have an awesome leadership team that I can delegate to, and I have one new operations. Well, he's new in the position. He's worked with us for a long time, but that he's still learning. I'm still walking with him and training him. But it's not new to him. He's very capable of it. And then Melanie, as you know, they're on my leadership team, and they've really just taken over, and they take a task and just run with it. So in some ways
you're saying that you empowered. So this new style of leadership that you begin to kind of morph into from your other was, like, not only putting yourself forward, but would you say it was also empowering the people around you, right? Because you're saying delegating, but I don't see you necessarily as, like, somebody that sits up here and is like,
right, yeah, do
this, but it's more like an empowering,
right. And it allows, it's not just with the leadership team, but I have one lady in particular in our office, and I know she wouldn't mind me saying her name, but I'm not going to, that hates to make decisions. She does not want to stick her neck out there. She wants to be told what to do, and anything that is beyond the normal everyday decision. And I have been working with her for years now, trying to get her to make those decisions and make the mistakes. Like, that's how you learn, And so it's not just empowering the leadership team, it's empowering everyone.
It's kind of coaching people too.
Yeah.
Because if you're working with somebody to grow somebody, that part of that.
Mm-hmm.
So then, like, if I'm hearing you correctly, so like empowering your team, coaching your team, like those are pieces like that you've transformed into from being just kind of like the passive leader.
Yes.
That kind of just let things go.
Yeah. Well, and it was also, it was back a few years ago, it was frustrating to me too, because before I was empowering people, before I was giving them the wings to just, go, it was, all of these questions were coming to me. And it's okay. Like I don't mind answering. Yes, I don't mind answering questions. But at the same time, it seemed like it was at times the same question or the same style of question or the same. And I'm like, we just talked about this, 2 weeks ago. And so that's when a light clicked on for me. It was like, hey, dummy, you're the problem here. You're not giving them the power to do this.
So possibly one of those moments that you realize that like that maybe like the change, like, oh, I'm part of the problem.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And I would say like as leaders in general, like that happens oftentimes. Like we are the problem.
Hopefully we're always,
we realize we're the problem. Like, it's not my people.
Yeah. And then I want to go a little bit more with that. One of our core values is having a heart to serve. And we talk about servant leadership a lot in this podcast and with John C. Maxwell in his wonderful books. And so anyway, that's one thing that we really strive in our business. And obviously if I don't have the heart to serve, and Amanda, my wife, if we don't have the heart to serve, it's not going to transfer into the leadership team and into the rest of the team. So all of that starts here. And that's something that we're extremely passionate about is having heart to serve, not just our customers, but our team, our families, our community. Having heart to serve puts us above our competitors and puts us in
do you feel like you always had a heart to serve? Is this an area you're growing into?
So we've always had great service, customer service. Mm-hmm. But I don't know that we were intentional with a heart to serve, if I can put it that way.
Right. So intentionally serving.
Yes. Larry and Marilyn started it 24 and a half years ago. And that's how it was grown, by customer service, by going above and beyond.
And just for our audience, Larry and Marilyn, his in-laws.
Yeah, my in-laws. Yeah, they're the ones that started.
They just took the business over from.
Yeah. So they started it with building it on customer service, and we continued that. I mean, we've done that through the last 24 years, but the being intentional, we introduced these core values on paper, and it's not like we didn't change anything. We did change things, but it's
you
not like we
became intentional about what you were doing.
Yes, it's not like we changed
different.
our operations any, but we started being intentional with the heart to serve. And now the 4 core values that we have, when we are making decisions, I can't tell you how many times in a week they come up, even if it's just me talking to myself, which I try not to do very often, but or talking with the leadership team or talking with somebody else, these core values come up, and it's like, this is why we are making this decision. And in fact, there was someone that we had to terminate here recently, and I sat down with the leadership team and I said, this goes against 3 out of our 4 core values. Like, it's not something that they could probably get away with it at most workplaces, but because it goes against our core values, who we are, and we've written them down and we're intentional about these, this person cannot do that. They cannot work here. And it wasn't the first time. It was So anyway,
right. I think everybody
Yes.
knows there's a
yes,
process.
yes.
Yeah.
But so being very intentional, having a heart to serve, and being intentional about it, and having it on our minds constantly is it's a huge difference from just having great customer service to having a heart
Intentional.
to serve.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Intentional and that servant leadership. Yeah, absolutely. I think those are great. I mean, that's an interesting piece to see the transformation.
Mm-hmm.
And it'll be interesting in the future to see, like, as you continue to grow and learn, and that I think it's that mindset, right?
Yeah.
So I want to kind of move. This kind of gets into a little bit another topic that addresses this. If we can move on from the leadership,
You're the boss.
portion.
Yeah. You're
I'm the talkative one.
You're the interviewer.
So yes.
Yes. You
So
almost corrected me, didn't you?
I did. So decision making. So we all know that when you are the person that is the head of an organization, any organization, whatever size, right? Decision making can be a very complex task to do,
Mm-hmm.
right? And I just read this. I just read an article saying I think it's roughly they estimate that we make about 30,000 decisions every day. I'm actually writing a little paper on that.
Oh.
Yeah. But we do make about 30,000 decisions every day. But obviously, like, you being the boss, like, you've got a lot of decisions you have to make.
Mm-hmm.
How do you make those more complex decisions? And then how do you make those decisions when you have lots of information? Like, is there a difference when you have lots of information, and then those decisions where you don't have a lot of information, but a decision has to be made?
Mm-hmm.
So just walk us through your decision-making process as a leader.
Well, I think the most important to me in most decisions is to be informed and to not jump to a decision, especially we're talking about, specifically about complex decisions or large decisions. So yeah, I try to get as many people involved as possible that can be involved in a complex decision. And one we just discussed, with the termination, obviously surrounded myself with leadership, and we sat down and we talked about it. And you never want to make an emotional termination. You never want to make...
You don't want to make emotional decisions.
Whatsoever.
We're all guilty of it.
Yeah. And so, gather as many people as that can give you facts about the situation. So if the situation is, well, we just had one here this week, actually. We had an opportunity come up and to service a customer that was the realm of the services is outside of what we normally do on a day-to-day basis, and it's going to be a great opportunity for us, but it's just something that we have not done before, and so I just gathered the people that are involved with it and will be involved with it, and we just sat down and talked for a while, and we made several phone calls back and forth to the potential customer, gathering all the information that we needed, and so when we actually were able to make a decision in the very same day, within just a few hours, and we were able to service the customer, and it's going to be has potential to be a great customer for us.
So it sounds like when it comes to making those more complex decisions, you definitely like to have a variety of perspectives around you from your leadership team. And I think that speaks back to your leadership style, that empowering other people, right, to be part of it. And I think, I don't want to put words in your mouth, but I think by because you mentioned taking the emotion out of it, right? Mm-hmm. When you start having other perspectives, it helps you to take that. Yes. If you have personal emotion involved in it, but you have other people advising on the situation, it helps you to take it out. And then obviously when things impact an employee, just like you just mentioned, then definitely like pulling them in like, for those complex. And then what about those times when you don't have time to gather the team? You have to make a snap decision. Somebody called and then you have 2 hours to make the decision.
So if I had a situation where we had to have an answer right now, someone calls me, we have this issue right here, I need an answer right now. I guess the best way to put it would be you go through your mind, your core values. You make sure you're not doing anything out of line in your core values. And you make a decision.
There you go.
As long as it lines up to core values. And in our business, in our industry, we've been doing it so long. There's not much that is surprising anymore. Like there's, you have trucks on the road. And so not many times is there something that you have an instantaneous need that you need an instantaneous answer of any weight anyway. So there may be issues where like if a driver is trying to pick up a roll-off container and there are cars blocking the container and so they may need, I need to know, do you want me to leave? Do you want me to go knock on doors? What do you want me to do? So there's not many, nothing that I can think of any like weight bearing major decisions that have to be made in an instant. So weight bearing decisions, I always love to have time to think about and have time to talk with the team
and obviously like you were saying, if you don't have that time and space, you bump it against your core values
and you make a decision and
you make a decision.
You learn from it, either good or bad.
yeah well, and I think that's the thing too, because some of the people listening or watching the podcast, they may be in industries where they're new. They haven't had 24 years of experience and they've got a complex decision being thrown on their plate and they're thinking, what do I do?
Yeah.
But I think what I heard you say was like, you're basing it off your core values and you're also saying like you make the best decision you can make at the time and then know that like you also may learn from it.
Yeah.
Or will learn from it.
You'll learn from it. Yeah. You may learn that you made a horrible decision or you may learn that, hey, that was a great decision.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. So strategic thinking, that's the next question I want to get into is strategic thinking. And I actually...
Can I pause here and plug something?
Yeah.
Last night or yesterday evening when we were setting everything up and we sat here and we did a test run of the mics and everything, we did a fake interview and it was hilarious. And I just answered questions as if I was the worst boss in the world.
It was hysterical. And
it was a lot of fun.
It was a blast.
So we're going to, I don't know how we're going to post it. We'll post it somehow. We just got to make sure everybody knows it's a joke.
Yes.
We don't want people overhearing,
And I don't know how I kept a straight face. I didn't keep a straight face the whole time. But once I realized what you were doing, because at first...
you should have known after the first question.
Well, yeah. After the first question, I realized, but then we kept going.
Yeah.
Because we hadn't intended to.
Oh, no. It was hilarious. We had so much fun.
It was fun.
So anyway, we'll post it. That'll be a gag reel there.
It was a good time.
It was a lot of fun. We'll share it. Just don't. Yeah. Anyway.
Don't take us too seriously.
Yeah.
I mean, now take us seriously, but if you see that, don't take us serious about that. That's what you should.
Okay. Strategic thinking. Sorry.
So strategic thinking. So this one I was actually a little bit, I told you earlier, I was kind of a little bit excited to talk to you about this one. And the reason, I have multiple reasons for being curious about like your response to how you think strategically. And one of the reasons is because you are OCD.
Yes.
Sorry. No, but I can say that as but it's not a bad thing. Like, you're very methodical. You think things through. Like, I can say that as your friend. I think I can. But anyways, so how do you strategically plan out, innovate? Like, how do you strategically plan for your company, for your organization?
Well, I will share a funny here first to start this out. With my OCD and the way I love things perfect, I used to struggle tremendously in this business because I would have everything planned out in my mind, the way my day was going to go, and the way that
I could never see that.
that the business was going to run. Like I did. I had it. It was all. Now I didn't have it all written down, but it was up
Yeah.
here. And if you're running a business, that does not happen. And so we're talking several years ago, but I remember I would have a plan, and this was back probably 5, 6, 7, 8 years ago. And Larry and I, my father-in-law and I, we weren't the greatest at communicating to each other or with each other. He was like partially retired for several years, and he may not show up to work, which was great. I'm glad that they, glad they had the trust in me, and glad that the business was to that point where they could do that. But he may not show up to work for a few months, and then he would show up, and then so and so I would have my day in my brain. I'd have it all planned out, and then he may show up and he may be like, "Hey, I need you to do this, or I need you to do this, or we're gonna go do this," and it would just throw me in a tizzy. Like it would just. And he
I'm
found
sorry,
it.
I'm laughing.
Yeah, no, I think
this
he
is our
found it.
friendship. This is our friendship to a T. Like I'm very spontaneous, and you are very not.
I think he actually found it quite humorous too, because we talked about it several times, and I have learned over the years to not let that bother me anymore. Like it really doesn't bother me anymore, and it's mostly. And so anyway, there's your funny for the day. So strategic planning. So I love to plan. I love to have a plan. I love to have a plan for the business. I love to have a plan for myself, to have daily goals, weekly goals, whatever. And so for me, I think having that plan, not only a daily plan, but a weekly plan, a yearly plan, monthly, quarterly, whatever, having a budget for the business, having a plan of growth, a plan of spending, a plan of hiring, a plan of trucks, equipment that you're going to purchase, having all of this planned out and not just winging it, to me is the best strategy by far.
So how do you handle the one-offs?
So
or the two-offs?
Well,
or
so we had one this year. We had no intentions of buying a new roll-off truck, and then we had a roll-off truck catch fire and burn to the ground. And so obviously you can have everything planned out the best that you to a T, and there will be something that happens that throws you off your plan. So you have to be able to roll with that, and that's fine. I mean, that's just part of business. But I am a firm believer in telling your money where to go, as Dave Ramsey says, instead of wondering where it went.
Right.
Knowing how much AP you have, how much AR you have, knowing your numbers, and you can plan. If you know your business in and out and you know your numbers, then you can strategically plan your growth as well. And
what about your industry?
Well, and so that's what I was getting ready to start diving into that. So in our industry, it can be an extremely competitive industry, and so
how do you strategically plan for that?
Well, so in all honesty, it's our core values. It's having the heart to serve. And so we may not be, and several times we are not the cheapest option, the least expensive option. But because we have the heart to serve, and because that shows through our service, through our customer service, through the conversations that our team has with our customers, not only over the phone, but out in the field. I was actually on the phone with one of our drivers yesterday, and we were just chatting on the phone, and he said, "Hey, hold on a second, I have a customer walking up to my truck." And so the customer walked up and actually gave him a Christmas tip that he does every year. And then they just started chatting, and they were talking, and I was on the phone with him the whole time. And I love hearing that, because they go above and beyond, and the customers see that. They have the heart to serve, and the customers see that. And so whenever that customer receives a flyer in the mail that a competitor of ours is coming through there, and they're going to offer it for half the price that they're paying with us, they're going to be a lot less likely to jump on that, because of the relationship that has been
part
built.
of your strategic plan, I would say then, and I don't want to put words in your mouth again, but would be to keep your core. Like,
Yes.
To always keep your values.
Yes.
Like, regardless.
Yes. And
tactics, strategies may change, but if you maintain your value to serve, that is like you're maintaining, like that is a strategy in of itself.
100%. And to build, we actually have a vision meeting coming up here in a couple of weeks, and I'm really excited about it. Amanda and I we're just going to sit down and talk with everybody, and it's going to be really casual, and we're going to
vision boards.
We're going to receive their input. We're going to receive their questions, and we're going to share our vision of where we want the business to go, and how. Mm-hmm. And the very first part of what we're talking about is our core values, mm-hmm. and how much that if we we will stick to our core values, but because of sticking to our core values and because of building these relationships, it creates a much longer lasting business than just a business. If we were just out to gather people's money,
so I think
there's no longevity there.
I think you touched on two parts, and I hope our audience can, I'm pretty sure they came through loud and clear. So there's two parts of your strategic plan that I broke down in my mind. So one part is the financials, the logistics part, like mm-hmm. the organization, the task, those things, like keeping an eye on all of those things, planning for, being prepared, having a plan for breakdowns, having plans for that to keep everything going. And then the other strategic part of your plan is to be intentional about staying true to mm-hmm. who you are as an organization.
And you know where that starts? Interviews.
Yes.
Interviews.
Explain more though.
If we are able to hire the right people.
That's not what you said in our interview last night. That was funny.
If we're able to hire the right people, not people that just line up exactly with who we currently are, but people that will add.
And if I can dive deep into the right people, are you meaning like not people who just want a paycheck because they want a paycheck and they just come because they want a paycheck?
People that are willing to not only share our core values and abide by our core values, but also add to our core values. Yeah. And I think that's one of the biggest goals that I have in the near future is to continue to grow our team. Mm-hmm. I'm not saying grow in numbers. I'm saying grow as in continue to build camaraderie, continue to build the unity is another one of our core values. Continue to build unity in our team and make it to where it's going to be inseparable. Mm. And not only will our team be inseparable, but our team will be inseparable from the core values, from who we are. And so having the right people and that all starts in the interview process. And I, in the past, was horrible with interviews, and I would, and so again, back to kind of the leadership style in where I was several years ago. we didn't have a great team. We didn't have unity. We didn't have these core values set. And so everyone was just kind of on their own little island. And so we had a lot of turnover. And so, all of this turnover, it makes for a very frustrating interview process, because usually whenever you're having that much turnover, your interview process is, do you have a CDL?
Are you a warm body?
Can you fit in a seat? And you're hired,
Yeah.
and that was so frustrating at the time, for us and for me, because, you're just filling a seat. But for the last several years, we have been able to cultivate this atmosphere to be able to build a great team. And to add to that, I made a hire that I shouldn't have earlier this year. And they interviewed well, and I thought they were going to be, but I didn't do my due diligence. We didn't interview enough, and we didn't ask enough questions, and we didn't, so anyway, they were onboarded. But what was amazing was, because they didn't fit with the team, because their values didn't match our core values, even though they said they did in the interview, but because it showed that their values didn't match our core values, and they didn't have a heart to serve, and yada yada, they were forced out by our team, which to me was, and it sounds really weird, to me that was a huge win, that I didn't have to go and terminate somebody, but that the team realized that this person is not okay. Like, this is...
I think the big win would be that they realized that it was not a fit for them, right?
Yes.
Because it's not that we all have the same core values, right? Yeah. Because they could go and be a great fit for another organization and be perfectly fine with that organization. But coming to your organization, like, they didn't align. Yeah,
it did not align. And it wasn't like no one was rude to them.
And they weren't a bad person.
Yeah. No one forced them out, like, but that person felt so uncomfortable because they did not have...
And they knew it.
Said,
right. And you don't want people to feel uncomfortable, but you also know too, like, if you said your core values aligned, and maybe you kind of knew that they didn't, but you're just trying to get the job, but then you get there and you're like, oh boy.
Yeah.
Then like, it's on you. It's not on the company. It's on you.
Yeah.
You knew it going in.
Yeah. So that was really neat. And that's, that's, I can't even remember how we got here. What were we talking about? Strategic planning, but
strategic thinking. Yeah.
So anyway, that's where,
like the core values, because part of your strategic thinking is your core values.
Yeah.
And I think, that's why I was kind of excited about just because I know you are a very logical thinker. I kind of know you as a person, like you're kind of your core. I feel like I do anyways.
Mm-hmm.
And so knowing, so it'll be amazing to see what's in the future, looking forward into the future. And I think up to this point, before we move forward, I think something that I've noticed in this entire interview, that has really struck a chord, a thread through the whole thing, is this intentional piece, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think oftentimes in leadership that gets forgotten, is that we are intentional about our growth.
Mm-hmm.
We're intentional about our strategic thinking. We're intentional about our decision making.
Mm-hmm.
And I think you have to be an intentional leader, like in everything that you do. Like,
most definitely.
Because if you didn't intentionally recognize that you were not the leader who you wanted to be, you would have never begin the process of transformation, and you would stay right where you are currently, and you would not continue to grow next year.
Yeah.
And not being a person who like continued to evolve and transform.
Yeah.
Do we have time to jump into our next
we
question?
Do.
Are you
we
good?
Do. Yeah.
I'm
having
fun. So.
One thing that Amanda and I have talked about quite a bit, and actually I think you and I have too, is that stuff doesn't just happen.
No, nothing just happened.
And you may look at a business and see a great team, or see a transformation like what our business has endured over the last several years, and you may think, wow, they just just happened to hire the right people, or they just happened to.
Or they just got here overnight. You know,
Yeah.
your mother-in-law
Yeah.
and father-in-law could talk about the vans and the, you know, how the company originally
Yeah.
started. It didn't
Yeah.
just start with all these trucks and
Yeah. You have
employees and
you have to be extremely intentional,
Mhm.
and they were extremely intentional in the beginning, in getting it started, and as you said, throwing trash in the back of a van, and staying up late all night. Whenever there was just one trash truck, staying up all night to fix it so they could run the route the next
Yeah.
day. They were extremely intentional, you know,
Yeah.
and getting it going. And they could have very easily stopped and
Yeah.
said, "This is too much," you know.
Yeah.
Um,
So it's not all a bed of roses.
it's not. It's
Anything
not.
that
And-
anything that's worth its salt is not.
Oh, yeah.
Is not.
Yeah.
Does not come easy.
Yeah. Yeah. And then in the last several years, we've been able to cultivate the atmosphere, and the culture in the business to be able to grow the team to where it is now, and have the unity and everything. It's very intentional. It takes So
Yep,
anyway, and
absolutely.
to keep it going is going to be intentional.
Yeah.
We're going to.
Very cool.
Awesome. Thank you, Jared.
Thank you.
And thank you all for listening. We hope you tune in and share this, and we appreciate your support.
All right. Like and subscribe.
Make sure you do that. Have a good one.
Bye bye.